What's up, everybody? Today, Vox&Hops episode number 12. I sit down with Brittney Slays, the vocalist of Unleash the Archers. What a fucking great singer this girl is. Jesus. She's just got such an intense voice, excellent stage performer. So much fun just to sit down and talk to and see her, behind the persona. I love that shit. We sat down, we talked about how she learned how to sing in a choir at the age of 8. She tells me all about the latest experience of recording her album in Denmark with Jacob Hansen, the producer. And she tells me about how, they go sightseeing on tour, which is, not a lot of bands actually make time for that. They're like, no, we're going to sleep in. We're not going to wake up extra early so that we can go see the Grand Canyon. But no, they do. Unleash the Archers are those types of dudes and girl. So check it all out. Here it is, Vox&Hops, episode number 12.
I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Hey, how's it going? Matt here with Brittney Slays from Unleash the Archers. We're here at the Piranha Bar on St. Catherine Street in Montreal, and you're about to go on shortly later, and we're sitting down at Fritalard, and we just ordered a beer, and the beer that we're drinking tonight is La Saison du Tracteur from Trou du diable. Little background of Trou du diable. It was a huge, one of the bigger microbrews that was coming out in Quebec. It was getting extremely popular, and it was just bought by Molson. And there was like a big uproar, and people were pissed.
Yeah.
But this, the quality has remained the same, and it's, we can go to places and order a good craft beer because it's getting distributed through Molson now. So it's like a win-lose situation, but so far it's been good.
That's good.
So what's been up with you?
Not much. Just, the ways of the road. Same old, same old.
How long has this tour been going on?
We've been on the road for 3 weeks now, and 2 weeks are left.
Okay, nice. Yeah. 5-weeker.
Yeah, big one.
Do you like long tours, or do you have like a certain cutoff point when you wish it was over?
Well, I used to really like long tours. I'm getting older now, though. So it's been it's been awesome though. I mean, you tend to hit this wall around like 3 weeks where it's just like, oh God, get me out of here. But then once you get through that, it's just like, it's so easy. You just wake up, you do your thing, you play, you sleep, you wake up. It's just becomes a routine, and it becomes life. So yeah.
It's a strange thing that not many people that don't tour would actually comprehend, like a day in the life of a touring musician. The amount of time that we spend waiting can become tedious. What do you do to manage that time?
Well, on this tour, I'm actually acting tour manager. So most of the time in the van, I'm doing a lot of paperwork and work business, all that sort of stuff. But normally I would be watching movies or playing video games. I got a Switch before the last Europe tour, so I picked up Donkey Kong before we left, but I haven't had any time to play it. I'm just like, but yeah, I'll like download some whatever latest season of whatever's hot right now on Netflix, that kind of thing normally. Yeah.
That's how I survive. That's how I survive too. I bring my tablet and I just load it up with a whole bunch of, shit that my wife would never watch with me. So.
Exactly. Like I do all the horror movies and everything. Scott hates horror movies, so I just never get the time to watch them at home. So.
What is it about horror movies that speaks to you so much? I
think I just really enjoy being scared. I love roller coasters too. Like I love, the exhilaration. The scarier the movie, the better. But it's actually, I've seen a lot of horrors now, so it's getting harder and harder to be scared. So you really have to impress me.
If you had to name, like, what style of horror movie do you like? Is it the gore, or is it the mystery, suspense?
Not really a big slasher film kind of person. I find them a little bit too predictable. But I'm down kind of with whatever. I guess possessions are always fun. Hauntings are good. I don't know, something with a twist. Like I didn't mind Babadook. I thought that was good. It wasn't really scary, but I liked it. Lights Out, that was a good one. That was probably the last time I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, interesting twist. But yeah, whatever, as long as it's scary.
What about classic horror movies? What would be your top classic horror movie?
Probably, just because I have a soft spot for zombies, but any of the Romero zombie films. Like the first time I ever saw, Night of the Living Dead was one of my favorites. And then there was like, I think it was Night of the Living Dead 2 or 3, where the guy's girlfriend, I can't remember which one it was, she became a zombie, and in order to not eat people, she would be like constantly piercing herself or like cutting things off and stuff. Like she's just trying to like, the only thing that would stop her from eating people was by afflicting herself with pain. So that was a good one. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever, anything. I'll watch them all. But probably the first Night of the Living Dead was one of my favorites.
I do remember when I saw that for the first time. It was playing like late night on a Saturday on local TV.
Yeah.
And I just like stumbled across it, and I spent the whole night just like enthralled in this movie.
Right? Yeah. And like there's something just so scary about zombies and the thought of them, and yet you can't stop watching. It's so good.
Let's taste this beer.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It smells weedy.
Oh. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's a classic. Really, really good, yeah.
So it's a Saison? Is that what that is? I think, I've never really had a Saison that I don't like, actually, so far. So, nice choice.
From what I understand, Saisons use traditional Belgian yeast, which eats up most of the sugar.
Oh, okay.
In the beers, which gives it that drier, less fruity taste.
And hence why it's also 6%. That's not too bad. I thought it was going to be like 8% or something. Anytime you mention Belgian,
you got to be careful.
Yeah,
you got to be careful.
Last time we played there, I definitely had a few too many, not realizing that it was going to be too many.
You got to be
so
careful.
Strong. Yeah.
Do you like craft beer? Is it something in your life that you explore?
I mean, it's not really. I do, however, hang out with a lot of people that do. And so every time we're in the beer store, it's kind of like, well, everyone else is getting something cool. I'm going to try something cool. It's not like a crazy passion, but it's just something that is sort of a part of my life because it's so huge in Vancouver, especially. So I love, we have a few places like Alibi Room that have like insane amount of taps that you can try. So I always try and pick something new every time I go, but I'm also like the worst for like hoppy beers, IPAs. I can't do them and that kind of thing, and so we're like really strong stouts, they're just too much for me. So I find that it's harder for me to find something that I like in the winter months because it's always really thick, heavy, wintry beers. But in the summertime, it's like, oh man, I get myself a peach wheat ale or anything, blondes, lots of good stuff, Hefeweizens, all that stuff. So
have you stepped into the world of sour beers yet?
Yes, yeah. I'm a fan of the sours. Actually, we had one just the other day. There's a really good brewery in Vancouver called, it starts with a D. Dang it, it's going to elude me. Just, you gotta turn your brain on. That's sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. So you had a good one the other day.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, they're kind of, they can be hit or miss a little bit.
Do you remember what your first experience with beer was like?
Yes, I do actually. Like my very first beer I ever had, I was at home and my brother was having friends over. He was 3 years older than I was, and he was a huge influence on me musically. And so all of his friends were hanging out downstairs, and I think like my parents were away or something, or at least my mom was, because my dad doesn't mind if we have a few friends over. And I came downstairs and my brother was like, get out of here, like, no, stop hanging out with my friends. And but then one of his buddies leaned over the back of the couch and was like, hey, you want one? And it was like a Molson Canadian or something. And I was like, oh my god, so cool. I must have been like, I don't know, 11, 12, and I could barely get through it. I was like, oh man, I'm not really enjoying this. So the first time that I actually like went out drinking with my friends, I was like, no beer. And then we did like hard bar or something. It was absolutely horrible. So then I relearned the wonders of beer and became more of a beer person than anything else.
Do you remember what beer or what then when that transition happened that you became more palatable towards beer? Probably
like grade 8, I would say, when we I know that's really young to be drinking. Like, how old are you? 14. We would get 8 packs of like the super strong stuff and just split it, like so 4 and 4. And that was like just the best night ever, and you could go all night long, and you wouldn't get like too drunk. And so that just kind of that was like where I realized that it was like the better drunk for me personally as a human being. Like on hard bar or anything like that, I just get a little too wild. So but then like in university when I was playing rugby really hard, like beers, you crush them in the morning in the shower before the game, you crush them before the game, you crush them after the game. It was like, you know, drinking beer was a part of the whole lifestyle of being a rugby player, so it was really important.
It's almost like tour training.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was so good at this, I guess.
Tell me about you growing up. You mentioned you had an older brother. Mm-hmm. Your parents were together, I assumed.
Yeah.
What was your life like growing up? What kind of kid were you in school?
Well, I was pretty nerdy. I was always very quiet. I was a reader, big time. If ever I had to go anywhere, I always had a book with me. Even to my grandparents' concert where I was in the front row reading a book. I felt really bad about that now, you know, thinking back on it. But I just didn't want to have my life in the real world, I guess. I wanted to live in the fantasy realm that I sing about now. But then I kind of came out of my shell a little bit when I met my girlfriends, who are still my best friends to this day. And I learned, you know, how much I love music and how much I love singing. And so music became a really big part of my life. And it's really funny because I was in drama, I was in musical theater, I was in choir, I was in band, I was everything that you could think of to do with music. But I was also into sports, like played every sport ever imaginable except soccer. And then there was this other side of me that was like super nerdy, wants to just stay home and play video games and read books all day. So it was like this weird dynamic of a human being, but it kept me really busy. Like I was just always doing something. And I think that if I didn't play sports, I probably would have not stayed in high school because I just was so bored by it all. And eventually started taking IB, though, International Baccalaureate, which is like the upper level classes, and that kept me interested. So, but it was kind of, I'm just like this weird paradox of a human being that's like, I'm very introverted and yet I'm on stage like in front of hundreds of people all the time. It's just kind of like these two personas that I have to keep separate from one another.
I find that the more that I interview people, the more that I find that about people. Most people that are like front people, front women, front men, tend to be extremely introverted. And it's like, maybe it's like a part of our therapeutic experience
or something
to get out there.
Yeah.
Spending that time on stage, or you know, getting the music out of us is so important to us that we must confront that.
Yeah, well, I think that I'd probably lose my mind if I didn't play music or do something musically. There was a year there when I really focused on rugby, and I wasn't doing anything musically, and I was so unhappy, and I was just like, why do I feel so crappy? And then I realized that I wasn't singing, so I joined a choir like the next year and felt much better with that balance.
So what age did you start singing or envision yourself being a singer?
Well, I don't really remember it, but there's pictures of me like when I was 6 years old with my dad's old SM57 in the living room where we had like, it was a really weird fireplace. It had like a raised ledge, and I would always stand on the ledge with the microphone and sing. And this was like before really anything I ever knew that even that I was a singer. So but my parents knew, obviously, and they put me in choir as soon as I was old enough to, because it was like you had to be at least 8 years old in order to be in the community choir. So the second that I was able to do that, and I've been singing ever since, just kind of really important part of my life.
Throughout that choir experience, did they give you like formal musical training as well, like all note reading and
yeah, we had like our regular conductor, and then his wife was actually a teacher. She's an opera singer and a teacher at the local like college or whatever it's called, and so she would come in once every month, I think it was, and then we'd do all theory and everything with her, and she'd, you know, teach us how to sing from the diaphragm and all that sort of stuff. And I was really too young to kind of take it in those days, so when I took music again in university, I really soaked it up. That's kind of when I learned the most
So you went to university for voice?
I actually went for history, but then realized that I should have probably been in the music program and took every class that I could that you didn't have to have like the music program prereqs for. So like anything like vocal diction, lots of stuff that were like electives that you could take without being in the program. So just ate that up as soon as I realized my mistake. But I really enjoy history, and I'm a big nerd when it comes to that kind of thing. So it's not that I didn't enjoy my degree. I just maybe should have done a double major or something, which would have kept me even busier.
When did the band start?
Right after I graduated university. Scott and I were dating all through school, and he was in a band that whole time, a death metal band. And then pretty much like right after we both graduated, the band broke up. And so I said, well, why don't we do something? And I called up his guitar player from that band, and I said, Scott and I were talking, and we were thinking that maybe we'd do something with me as a vocalist. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And then we found 2 other members online in the Victoria community, because a huge music scene there back in the day, still is. It's good. And yeah, we just kind of started it together.
And that's Unleash the Archers?
Yep.
You had one band.
Well, I was in this other band for like a month, but it was like super symphonic, and it wasn't really my style. And I realized it right away and was just like, no. And then I didn't want to, I don't know. There was this thing called, it was like a Victoria musicians website. And so you post on there if you're looking for a project or if you're looking for members for your project. And so I was constantly, scrolling through there trying to see if there was a project that would be right for me. And I never could find anything. So I was just like, let's just start something brand new. So yeah, pretty much UTA was my first ever band.
That's rare. Extremely interesting. I love shit like that when it's like one project and it just works. I'm not saying you guys didn't work at it.
No, yeah,
you guys
it's definitely
worked, it's been many years it's been running, and I've heard the name. I remember hearing of this band back when I was in 3 Mile. You guys should play with this band. Yeah. So how many years now has it been running?
It'll be 11 this October.
Yeah.
Oh, it is October. 11 years.
That's amazing. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. It doesn't feel like it. It's gone by really fast. We've kind of just been taking it year by year. We didn't have like a 5-year plan or anything, so it just really crept up on us. Yeah.
Who were some, you trained in voice and music training, you were in choirs. Who were some metal singers that you looked up to that, inspired you to sing more aggressively?
Well, it was the first time that I heard a metal band and was like, I could do this, because I'd listened to metal my whole life because of my brother, and it was always like Pantera, White Zombie, Tool, kind of that kind of stuff. So, but the first time I heard a band and said, I can take my love of metal and my love of music and singing and put them together, was Iron Maiden. So I heard Bruce Dickinson and just fell in love, and found as many of their CDs as I could get my hands on. And then from that, it led to Judas Priest and Queensryche, and then just kind of grew from there. So probably the 2-3 biggest influences for me vocally were Bruce Dickinson, Rob Halford, and Jeff Tate. And they kind of helped me to realize that that's what I wanted to do with my voice. I didn't want to be in choir my whole life. I mean, although that would be awesome. I actually miss it a lot. But and then I heard Daniel Heyman from Lost Horizon, who kind of took what those guys do and he just brought it to a whole nother place. And that's really where I started to realize that I needed to put a harder edge on my voice and leave the classical singer behind.
How did that affect your technique?
A lot more, like I rough it up a lot more now because of him. And like if you listen to Behold versus Apex, like 10 years apart pretty much, it's there's definitely a lot more confidence there, but it's also I just feel like I push myself a lot harder and play with that roughness a lot more than
Just
I did
adding
before.
a bit more like harshness to your vocal tone.
Yeah, like quite a bit more belting, and
Okay.
as opposed to just keeping it where it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how does that affect you when you're on the road?
Yeah, well, I had to train myself to be able to do it night after night without
What
losing
steps
it.
were those training?
Just time, really, and I really had to focus on placement. So, like when you do a kind of a rougher sound, you don't want to do it in the throat because, that'll ruin your vocal folds, shred them to little bits. So, just kind of figuring out physically where to place it in my mouth and continue to train my body to always put it there, so that if I'm reaching for a note, my body instinctively knows to do that instead of pushing. So there's just kind of a lot of time and a lot of me by myself in the jam spot. Yeah.
I find it interesting as you're telling me that the placement, I can picture you visualizing because you're moving your hand in this way that, as a singer, you have to like visualize when you're sending stuff and you're moving your soft palate around.
Exactly.
So I'm wondering if that's what you're doing with the hand movement.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Just imagining the sound like bouncing from place to place, and just make sure that you don't.
Who is the best extreme metal vocalist active today, in your opinion?
Oh, probably just because the way he swaps from clean to extreme is Bjorn Strid from Soilwork. I just absolutely love his voice, but I love his clean voice too. It's like the combo, you know what I mean?
Have you heard Night Flight Orchestra?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Dude, I put that stuff on at work all the time.
It's my
so
cleaning
good.
music.
Right? Yeah.
I put that shit on and I clean my house.
It totally is perfect for that. We have, for my work, we have a showroom that we work, and it's always by appointment only, so I'm just in there by myself, usually waiting for someone. So I'll put that on and then just like tidy everything up and make it all perfect and set out the waters and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just like happy time music.
What is work when you say you're not on tour? What do you do for work?
I'm in the lighting industry, so I'm actually a manufacturer's rep. So we represent several lighting manufacturers, and we sell their product to stores, and then stores sell them to the layman.
When you say lighting, do you mean stage lighting or just lighting in general?
Nope, just lighting. Chandeliers,
Okay.
table lamps, wall sconces. I cannot help but see them everywhere I go now. So if you ever see me just staring up at the sky, I'm like, what a horrible place for a pot light.
That's a T233 44 there.
Yeah, exactly. Should have been an A19 in there. I don't know what they're thinking.
You mentioned that now you sing about being in a fantasy land. Is there an overlying theme to your lyrics?
Just kind of take me away in general, for the most part. This last record was a concept album, so it had one story running through the whole thing. But for the most part, yeah, it's just kind of I do not sing about real life. I just avoid it as much as I can. And if I am singing about real life, like I did a little bit on Time Stands Still, I'm veiling it in kind of analogies or fantastical references that could be brought down to regular everyday life. So I just try not to. You're never going to hear me sing about heartbreak or losing my job or anything like that. My truck breaking down. It's just not who I am.
We'll save that for the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Your country album.
Listening to a lot of country on this tour. So
really? Well,
the whole band has, yeah. Because George, our driver, is kind of like in charge of the tunes, and he just puts on whatever he feels like, and Andy King is in the front seat, so he's the one that's influencing quite a bit into the country. But we're all loving it. We actually, after every set, we get in the van and we drive to the hotel or wherever it is that we're going, and we put on that If Heaven Ain't a Lot Like Dixie. Yeah, that's our Play Me Out song.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Where do you draw inspiration from throughout all these lyrics? Where have you, like when you say fantasy, is it Tolkien-esque or elsewhere?
It's a little bit of everything. Comic books, movies, video games. The movie, actually, Willow was a pretty good influence. It's like my favorite film of all time ever.
So underrated.
So, right? And it stands the test of time. If you watch it tomorrow, you feel like you're watching a something that came out yesterday.
I have Cylindrian Swan.
That's so good. I have friends where like we don't even talk to each other. We just quote Willow at one another. Like it's
Willow. I watched it way too much.
It's so good.
I watched it way too much as a little kid.
Oh yeah, it raised me, that movie. I would come home from school by myself and just put it on and sit there until my parents got home, and they would never have to worry about me because I'd be watching that. But there was a lot of Bev Morda in my antagonist character in the Apex storyline. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I'm gonna have to go read those lyrics.
Yeah. She's the matriarch is like the bad guy, so it's very much a lot of Bev Morda in there.
Good transition point. How fed up are you of being asked about what it's like to be a girl in metal?
Well, it doesn't happen too much anymore, thankfully.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, but that question is just, it doesn't make any sense, really. Like, when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Well, how does it feel to be a boy in a metal band?
Nobody would ask that.
No,
Nobody
exactly.
would ask that.
Why? Like, oh, I don't know. I hate having to, like, what? Pee sitting down? I don't know. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
You don't make all the guys pee sitting down on the tour bus when you're there?
Well, that would be nice if they did, actually. I never thought of that. No, it doesn't make any sense. I don't. My favorite is when I heard that Nervosa got asked on tour one time, so what's the girliest thing you've ever done on the road? And it's like, what? What do you mean? What constitutes girly? Like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. That is the strangest question ever. And but luckily, I think we're coming to the end of that. We're not special and we're not different. So we all just love heavy metal just as much as the next guy. How
do you feel about the all-girl tour packages or female-fronted tour packages?
Oh, like metal female voices tour? Whatever sells the tickets, I guess. There are some people out there that will only listen to female-fronted metal, so despite the genre. I don't know. I guess it's just kind of whatever. I'm fine with that if people want to put us on a bill with a bunch of female-fronted metal, or if they want to throw us on a bill with a blackened death metal band, I'm fine with that too. Yeah, just kind of whatever the fans want.
That's a good answer. That's the right answer. What is the best piece of advice you could give someone that's starting a band right now?
Save your money. Money. Everything comes down to money. Whether or not you got the money for the flights, the money for the gear, money for the merch, money for the recording, it all costs money. It's kind of a sad, jaded opinion, but I found that's the only obstacle we ever had, especially in the early days, was trying to raise up enough money to have enough shirts when we left on the road to pay for gas every night, or to have a recording that was quality enough that people would actually want to buy it, and to be able to fix the van if it broke down, when you were 5 provinces away from home. It was always about making sure that you had enough money in the bank, and there was more than a few times there where we were asking fans to bring food to the venues because just there was nothing left. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
What is the best piece of advice you received from someone more experienced than you when you were starting out?
Have merch. I guess we played our first show in Vancouver at the Cobalt, and we played with this other band that was a bit more established than us, and we didn't have anything. I think we had like one shirt, and even that was like, we had like small, medium, large or something, and they were just like, what are you doing? Like, people, you're good. You need to have something that people can buy to support you. Don't come back here without a demo and shirts in sizes available for people. And so after that moment, never went anywhere without a whole buttload of merch.
Which you've been telling me earlier that the tour's been going really well. You're at the point where there's multiple times that you have to reorder.
Yes, yeah.
It's a good problem to have, I would say.
Well, this one just kind of took us by surprise a little bit. We had no idea that it was going to be like this. So we were... we had a buttload of merch. It was just gone in 4 days, which was... yeah, exactly. Like, you're just kind of like, what? What do you mean we don't have this, or this, or this? We had like 100 of those, and now they're gone. So it's been absolutely incredible. And the fans have been amazing and just loud. So loud. There have been points where I can't even hear myself in my in-ears because the crowd has been singing with me so loud. So it's just kind of like, we're still in a bit of a haze about it, I think. We just had no idea, really.
How long has it been since you toured the States and Canada?
We've kind of done, we did the West a little bit, 2016, 2017, but not like a big tour like this for... even 3 years ago we just did the East, so it was kind of like we were breaking it up a lot there for a while, and so it's been probably a good 4 or 5 years since we did like the whole North American loop.
Wow. Yeah. And you guys dropped a new album last year, I want to say?
Yep, 2017.
It was recorded by...
Jacob Hansen.
That's right.
Hansen Studios, yeah.
On the way here, my guitarist, Chris Donaldson, was writing. He says he's sorry he couldn't be here. He said he loves Hansen.
Yeah.
He did like the new Volbeat.
Yeah, he does all the Volbeat records, yeah.
And he had a question. He was wondering, did you guys go there to record with him in Denmark?
Yes, yeah. We spent 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We actually, we'd been wanting to record with Jacob for a while, and so when we got booked on a Europe tour with Tyr in 2016, we said, well, let's hurry, finish the record, and go to Denmark after the tour and do the record there. And Jacob was like, yep, I'm free. And so it was really good because we were like really in great shape, but the problem was that we had to do pre-production and everything crazy right up until we left, basically. So we were in like album mode up until the tour, and then we had to be in tour mode, and then we were back into album mode again. So I wouldn't recommend doing that again. Next time I think we'll pre-produce and then go to the studio. But it was a lot of fun. It was like a great experience, and Jacob was like awesome, and he was so chill and laid back. And so we came to him with these songs, and we were like, okay, so what needs to be changed? Like, what sucks? And he was like, nothing. He's like, let's go. Hit record, and so he was just really chill. And anytime I'd be like, I don't know about this part, and he'll be like, just lay it down and we'll listen and we'll see what happens. And it was just so like, I would be freaking out, and he'd be like, we'll get it done. Just like so chill.
You guys were on like a tight time frame too, which makes it harder.
Exactly, because we're over in Denmark. We only had a certain amount of time to get it all laid out. Otherwise, we would be recording, in our home studios or up another place that might sound completely different. So we had to get all the tracking done when we were there in Denmark for those 2 weeks. Yeah, and then we did mixing and mastering kind of just over Skype and that kind of thing afterwards. Yeah.
Chris wants to record your next album. He's all about it.
Awesome.
I'm a huge fan of Chris and the Grid, so I told him that I would tell you.
All right, Chris, I've heard you.
Definitely wants to record Unleash the Archers.
Dude, that'd be rad.
What is the accomplishment you're most proud of?
Well, I guess we haven't done it yet, but getting to play 70,000 Tons of Metal is pretty cool. That's always kind of been a big dream for me. That's probably so far. And
is it coming up? Is it booked?
Yes.
Okay.
January 2019. So it was kind of always like, I never dared to hope. I've always been the kind of person that says no expectations, no disappointments. So, but we're really excited to be invited to play that.
That rugby training, liquor-wise...
will it pay off? I sure hope so.
It will most definitely pay off.
Because I've heard a lot of great stories.
We don't talk about what happens on the boat.
What goes on the boat stays on the boat. All right.
I'll keep that in mind.
Just
drunk stories. And one misstep that you wish you could take back.
Starting the band after university. I feel like the years just fly by, so I wish I had started the band when I was younger. I guess that's really all I can say. There are some things always, though, like on a recording that you wish you could change or do differently. But yeah, it's probably nothing really. I don't know. Nothing major. There's nothing that like stands out to me as like, oh, we never should have done that or anything. Which is good.
It is a good thing. You're very lucky about that. If you could book a 3-band dream tour for Unleash the Archers, who would be on that tour? So yourself and 2 other bands.
Iced Earth would be one of them. I don't know. It's really important, to be on a bill with bands that you enjoy listening to, because you have to listen to them every night. So, maybe like Queensryche, I guess. New Queensryche. I'm down with them.
You've accepted the transition in Queens, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I listened to Condition Human, which was I think they've got a new one out this year, but it was a couple years back, and I loved it, and I was like, yep, I'm good with this.
Do you still follow Jeff Tate as well?
Not so much, not as much as I probably should. I should check it out, though. I mean,
considering he inspired you back in the day.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is one of your craziest tour stories?
Oh, I don't know. Well, in 2015, we did a tour with Crimson Shadows, who are very good friends of ours, and that was a pretty wild tour. There was a lot of boozing, a lot. Party time every night, pretty much. It was a really, really, really good time. And one night, we were supposed to stay at this fan's house, and she brought us over and everything, and then her mom came home unexpectedly, and apparently we weren't supposed to be there. So we got booted at I don't even know what time it was. It was a day off, so probably 1 a.m. I think. And so we just were in a Walmart parking lot, and it was in the States, so of course they sold booze, and it was cold, and so we just were staying in the Walmart parking lot tonight, and we're gonna get shitty, and we did, and it was a very enjoyable evening, right up until I broke the door of the bus that we were staying on, because people were going in and out for smokes and stuff, and so I was I was the door operator, the official door operator, and I just smash. It was a little too rough on it, I guess, but yeah, that was a pretty funny story. We still make fun of Corey for suggesting the fan in the first place. It was a really good time, though. That whole tour was just hilarious. Jokes and, a lot of boozing.
What about an absolute tour horror story?
Well, in the early days, we had our own van. We called him the Vangina, because it was a burgundy color, and then the interior was like a rose pink color. Yeah. So there was that. And he limped us through quite a few tours. But one time we were heading to PEI. We were almost at the bridge. Yeah. And smoke starts billowing out of the hood of our car. And I can't remember whose bright idea it was to just keep going until we got to a mechanic. But by the time we got there, the entire engine had seized, and we'd blown 3 of the caps on I can't remember what they're called.
Radiator?
No, it was the engine itself.
Okay, I'm really bad with
no,
shit.
me too. So they were completely fused together, and we had ruined it. But we had this amazing opportunity to open for Leaves' Eyes in Toronto in 3 days. So we were in this tiny little town called Amherst. We got ourselves a hotel and a mechanic willing to rebuild the engine. And every morning we'd get up and we'd call him and we'd say, "How's it going?" And he'd say, "Not today." And we'd go, "Oh," and we'd rent the hotel room for another night. And I think it was actually 5 days. We missed all the Halifax leg and everything through the east, New Brunswick, all that. So we were in this hotel, and it turned into purgatory. It was really weird because it just felt like you'd walk out the front door but then walk back in the front door, and you were never actually leaving the hotel. And it's this weird kind of Twilight Zone thing that was happening. We were just stuck in this tiny town that had nothing except one pub and a bowling alley, but it was only open on the weekend. It was crazy. So we were just desperate to get to Toronto for that show, and he did it, and we made it. We pulled up to the venue just on time, and it's
wow.
Pretty, yeah.
That's one of those moments. I can only imagine just those days, just
having your entire engine rebuilt while on tour. Yeah, that was a weird one. Needless to say, the next tour after that, she broke down and never came back again.
Poor Mangina.
Yeah.
Vangina.
Vangina. Yep, it was a GMC Vandura. It's good times.
I've noticed on this tour through social media that you guys are doing a lot of sightseeing.
Yes, yeah.
On this tour.
Yep, as much as we can.
That's interesting. It's cool that you have the time and you find the time to do this.
We do. We try. Yeah, we've kind of picked out a few places that we want, things that we wanted to do, and we were doesn't matter if we have to drive through the night, we're doing them. So the next one is Medieval Times. We're really, really trying to get Medieval Times done. We had it booked in Atlanta, and then we're idiots, so we missed it. So we've been trying to get it in there. We were going to do New Jersey, and then now our next chance is Chicago. I don't know if it's going to happen.
I don't know what this is, so please give me a rundown of what Medieval Times is.
It's a restaurant where they do jousting and...
Like in Cable Guy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That is Medieval Times. And you eat your food from a trencher, and you eat it with your hands, and you just drink beer and watch knights fight each other and do games, and they have falconers, and they have a whole storyline that goes behind it. They have a king and queen that sits up on a throne and oversees the whole thing, and yeah, it's pretty cool. That
sounds like a sick music video for you guys.
Yes. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yes, find the closest Medieval Times and just set up shop.
What was the best thing you saw on this tour so far, sightseeing wise?
NASA, for sure. NASA was the coolest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And it wasn't just the regular tour. We had a fan that worked there, so he brought us to everything. We got to see the ISS mock-up that they use for training. We got to go in it. We got to see the new Orion capsule that's going to be replacing the shuttle program. We got to see the Neutral Buoyancy Lab where they practice spacewalks. So they're in these crazy suits that work with the water, so that they're floating just like they would be in space. And we got to meet an astronaut who's gonna one day go up into space and be out there and see our planet from way out there, and who knows, maybe even be one of the first guys on Mars. I don't know. You follow him on Twitter. It's I think it's astronaut _Woody. Yeah, no, that was just incredible. I'm such a space nerd, so I was just kind of freaking out the whole time.
So do you believe in the moon or landing?
Sure, yep. Doesn't really matter if it happened or not, because we're going to go back.
Why haven't we yet?
Right, yeah, well, apparently from what we learned from everyone there, Obama wasn't a really big fan of NASA, so he kind of cut funding a lot. I think it was something like 15,000 people lost their jobs at NASA, something crazy like that. And I'm not trying to... I loved Obama. I thought he was great, but... I just don't think that he saw the potential of what NASA can be, not just for learning, for kind of paving the way for new inventions, that kind of thing, but also just as a kind of a beacon of hope for young kids that are into science or someone, I can't remember who it was that said, but if you're into sports, you can always play pro football. If you're into music, you can always, be a celebrity musician. But when you're super smart, what do you have? The Nobel Prize that's won by one genius a year, or 5 or 6 geniuses, whatever, and depending on the categories. There isn't that superstar program or thing for them. So that's kind of yeah, you're right. NASA is. Astronauts are those celebrity superstars for smart people. So I think, and I'm not going to say that I like Trump, but he's putting a lot more into it, and I think that with someone that understands the importance of NASA behind them, then maybe we will go back to the moon.
For his Space Force.
No, okay, that's just ridiculous.
What are some of your guilty music pleasures?
Oh, the new Katy Perry album is pretty awesome. The last one that she did, oh yeah, so good. I listened to that a lot. Oh, I don't know. I'm not really ashamed of anything that I listen to. I listen to a little bit of indie stuff. There's actually a band called Ostra from Ontario that I've been listening to quite a bit. She's super rad. I think there shouldn't be guilty music pleasures. You know what I mean? Because all music it means something to everyone. That's
you should never be ashamed of
right?
something.
If you like something really freaking weird, unless it's I don't know, weird racist music or something, which you should definitely...
But it's got a hook.
Don't even get me started. Yeah, just kind of, if it inspires you, then listen to it and don't be afraid to tell people that you do.
Who do you think the next big metal band is going to be?
The next big metal band? I don't know. Unleash the Archers?
You can say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
Like there'll never be
It's
another
hard to
Metallica,
say. Oh no,
another
that's-
Slayer. The Big
No.
Four is never going to get to that level again.
No, it's unfortunate. It's just not the way that the world works anymore. I've been listening to this really cool band recently called there's like a candy that's named the same thing, and I always say the wrong
Sunburst.
That's the one. I always want to say Starburst, and I'm like,
Oh no! I see.
Sunburst?
I was thinking, Starburst.
Right, exactly. I'm
So
always
Sunburst. No, I never heard of them.
No, they're amazing. They're so good, and I really think that they have the potential to be huge. And no one ever really knows who they are whenever I talk about them, but they're really rad. I've been listening to them a lot lately.
So what style of music is that?
It's like kind of not power metal, but it's like a very melodic traditional metal with a bit with synth and that kind of thing in it. So keyboards. So it's pretty catchy, clean vocals, all clean. Yeah, really good stuff though. Very uplifting and like kind of just fun and happy. And the guy's voice is dreamy. Just awesome.
Your favorite album of the moment?
The Sin and the Sentence by Trivium. I guess I've been listening to it a lot. I was never really a big Trivium person back in the day, but I think it like came on like a Spotify list or something, or it was just like playing songs that were like sounds like kind of thing. You know how it does that, just kind of plays them. And a song came on, and I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I was like, "Hey Google, who are listening to right now?" And they're like, "This is Trivium from the album blah blah blah." And I was like, "Dang!" So I downloaded I streamed the whole thing, and just have been like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! Like, why did I never listen to these guys before?" But then I learned that they have a new drummer who kind of very much affected the sound, and it's
He's my
kind
boy.
of,
I know that guy.
yeah, dude, incredible.
Alex Band.
Yeah. And he kind of brought it into the modern metal world, you know, a little bit of a younger twist on things.
He's a fantastic drummer. He grew up in the religious churches, and he learned, all his drumming in that Californian, like, religious church
crazy
bands
gospel
there.
stuff
gospel
going on.
players.
Cool.
Yeah,
No, man, he does some really neat stuff, and I'm like very intrigued. And I'm always like, if I'm not singing along, I'm doing the air guitar or whatever. But with this album, I am air drumming like a maniac. So
cool.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Alex Bent. Love that guy. What does Unleash the Archers have coming up after this tour?
Well, aside from 70,000 tons in the winter, we're going to do an EP in the spring, I think, probably. And it's just a little 2-song 7-inch that we're going to put out there. And but one of the songs is a UTA twist on a Canadian folk song that we're really excited about. So hopefully people will love it as much as we do. Kind of makes my heart explode every time I hear it, because I just love that song so much, like the original song. So and then take a breather, I think, and write the next record.
Awesome. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Brittney, for sitting down with me, having a beer.
Very tasty beer.
Yeah, cheers one more time to La
Cheers.
Saison du Tracteur. It's warmed up a little bit, but not quite, because we're sitting out on the patio. Still smells good. It's a nice, dry, refreshing brew.
It is very good.
I appreciate it.
Nice choice.
Thanks for being on Vox and Hops.
Well, thank you for having me.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening to Vox and Hops episode number 12. Brittney was just so generous with me. I sit down with her, we start recording the podcast, and I look down and I have no memory card in my Zoom. So I ran to like a local Best Buy and I bought an extra memory card, and and I'm like, fuck. Every time there's a mistake, it's a learning experience. And this podcast is not perfect, but I'm doing my best, and every day I'm trying to learn something new, push forward, make it better, make the sound better. I'm open to all of your comments and super interested in everything that you guys have to say, suggesting how to make this podcast better. So if you have any suggestions, please contact Matt at voxandhops.com. Next up on the podcast, I sit down with Sébastien Créteau, the singer of Necrotic Mutation. Now, this guy is a vocal beast. He tells me about how he brought Necrotic Mutation back to life. He tells me how he sang in a play with death metal vocals and a death metal band in a theater, seated theater for elderly people coming to watch, a theater piece. And he also tells me about how he's created this business around making voices for monsters and video games. So check it all out on Vox and Hops, episode number 13 with Sébastien Croteau. All the best. Thanks for listening.